spent years of my life as a hippie, quote unquote, all about going with the flow, all about doing whatever, being open to whatever. Which is really just excuses for laziness and lack of direction, lack of masculine drive, lack of passion, lack of freedom, which is the freedom that's supposed in going with the flow. Purpose, passion, prayer, and pain. These are pathways out of the purgatory of going with the flow. And today, I tried to do my purposeful, passionate, painful writing, but it wouldn't flow. And as much as I tried to force it, to impose discipline upon myself, to spend 3 hours at this desk trying to make something happen, only half pages that are like writer's block. Which is to say, the point of this video, going with the flow and being in like surrender to the wind isn't always a bad thing. It's a bad thing when it's the only thing you ever do and you never actually take action, and your shadows and your ghosts and your demons thrive in the empty spaces of your unspoken will, of your undone will, of your unchosen will. But it's also equally bad, equally siphoning, equally soul draining to be always go, 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 and forceful and masculine without any feminine balance. Still waters, waters without any flow, waters that are actually dammed up in this world by by categorical expressions of the mind detached from its own heart, macrocosmicized into the scientific paradigm that dominates our world, illusorily. Concrete, rigidity, too much structure, too much control, totalitarianism. There are billions of people whose nervous systems are like this all the time. And they could benefit from just going to the river and sitting there naked in the wind of God and just feeling their bodies and their nervous systems softening, opening, breathing, and going with the flow. All to say that it's a balance. Or I just made a realization. It's a balance. The realization is that my Chiron is in Libra. My core wound is in Libra. Chiron is Libra is the balance. And the wound of my purposelessness is asking me to balance masculine forcefulness, decision-making, action, initiative with the cup that runneth over of wu-wei, of simplicity, of non-doing, of going to the river, sitting naked, just allowing myself to observe the view of the world. What is this in my eye? To just be. You can't give anything if you don't receive. And you can't receive anything if you don't give. Give a prayer to God. Receive what God means for you, what God intends for you. Give offerings to God. Receive offerings from God. Material offerings, spiritual offerings, soulful offerings. Give words to God. Receive word from God. Give your life to God. Receive life from God. Give death to God in all of the ways that you avoid God, that you avoid confronting your own self, that you avoid confronting the parts of you that are asking you to feel instead of force. Give this emptiness to God. Give these attachments to dying systems to God, unconsciously. And he'll just give them right back. He'll say, this is what you are choosing. So I'm telling you, today I went to the river after some forcefulness. And I swear, I don't know if there's any greater medicine in the world than being naked in the summer with a mountain valley wind coming through the valley, caressing your warm skin. And swimming in the river. Naked. Shamelessly naked. There's something there. There's something about the Garden of Eden there. We weren't naked until we fell. We weren't ashamed to be naked until we fell. Naked by the river, in the winds of God, eating watermelon. I didn't have watermelon today. All I had was a mango. So when you don't know what to do with your life, when you're experiencing writer's block, when you're feeling uninspired, when you're feeling too forceful, when you're feeling your nervous system like fucking this, and like you're stuck, and like you're a hamster on a hamster wheel, and it doesn't stop, or like a rat in a cage. Go to the river, go to the forest, go to the mountains, go to the lake, whatever it may be. Ideally, a body of water, water being the emotional depth of life. Water being so much of what our bodies are made of. Our bodies are water filtration systems. Eat some fruit, structured water. Hydrate your body, hydrate your soul. Swim in the living waters of the earth. Swim in the living metaphorical waters of God. Anytime that I'm sick, I do this. Anytime that I'm healing, I do this. I grab a watermelon, I go to the river, I go to the ocean, I get naked, I eat the watermelon. Within a day, I feel better. So, if this is something of a self-improvement channel, if this is something of a spiritual self-discovery channel, know that this is the first step. You get some watermelon, you go to the river, you go to the lake, you go to the forest, you go to the ocean, and you eat the watermelon naked in nature. I forget what I was saying. Which is all to say. This is what I was saying. That even though the going with the flow and the being purposeless and the hippie mindset that's attached to that, even though that is not something to cling to as identity, even though that is like empty in a lot of ways, sometimes you just gotta go in nature and do nothing. Nothing except swim around like a little fish and pray and just feel the wind. Feel, it could be the softest little wind coming to caress your skin like half a mile an hour. Or it could be a raging gust of wind. Just feel it. And feel into the subtleties that present themselves, because the wind is God's breath. And God's breath is exchanged between every single living, breathing, beating heart in the world. Trillions of beings which have breathed this breath. And when forcefulness, when pain, when stuckness, when paralysis, all of these present themselves, You go into nature, you do nothing. You eat a watermelon naked. You ask God for whatever questions you have for him. You speak to the sky, you speak to the earth, and they listen. And they respond if you listen. But you have to listen. And you have to clear away the things that prevent you from listening, the distractions, the noise, the avoidance. So, that's a little bit of where I'm at. Oh, I wanted to say this when I was at the river earlier. I got into the water so slowly with this intention of, I don't have a plan. I'm just here in the wind, in the waters, in the elements, and just walking so slowly and gradually into this river. And it somehow was this perfect river where I could just walk step by step, and slowly but surely the waters would rise until they reached me right here. And I could feel myself just being held by the waters until I was ready to be submerged. And then I was swimming. I was in the water. I was no longer in the wind of God, but in the waters of God. Just present. Not even thinking about anything. Not trying to force, like, should I be doing this? Should I be going here? Just following my instinct in the water. And I started swimming. Not just swimming, swimming. Like a playful swimming. Like a inner child swimming. I was the child. I was the child that once, when I was 8 or 9 years old, went to France and Corsica and swam in the river that was ice cold and collected tadpoles for the first time in my life. And I was in this same pure, just present, innocent state. And I decided to swim up the river. The current of the river was the slowest current that I've ever experienced. So slow and yet still moving. And I swam up the stream. And I intentionally was swimming like a child, like the doggy paddle swimming. And then I saw like these nooks of rocks creating little alcoves on the riverbank and being like, oh, what's this? What's over here? Oh, I'm going to go look at this. Oh, it's over there. Oh, I got to go to the part of the river that I can't see that's like beyond where the river curves. And then I swam. And sometimes that's all you need. And you replenish yourself. I have this candle. It is melting right now. It's okay. But you can't just do that. You do these things, you are replenished by the waters of life and the waters of God. And then at some point, the inspiration just comes. And quite frankly, as I was making this video, I was trying to write and I was like, nope, No. No. So I just decided to make this video to see what kind of fluidity the waters could pour out of me into wind. To choose that creative medium. And to accept that right now I may be in the go with the flow. Just let things happen. Listen to the birds. And at some point the inspiration will come. And the initiative and the doing and the creating of containers for this fluid essence to flow in a way that has direction. So that if I was to create a garden, artistic garden, for the flowing of my creativity, all of these pathways, these potential pathways into which to pour my waters, into which to know to pour my waters. I have this system in place. I have this system in place. I have this outlet in place. Whatever it may be, different gardens for different streams of consciousness, of creation. And this itself is the inspiration which I was seeking now speaking through me to reveal itself, to say, hey, this is just what you need to do. Create the different containers for different times that you're feeling like you want to take action, but you don't exactly know how, or where, or why, or who, or what. Just create different little garden beds. Now, I'm rambling at this point. I want to save the candle for later when it's dark. I forget what I was saying. There is something too. When you find your purpose and your passion as a pathway out of your pain, through the pathos of your feeling, the pathway of your becoming, to find that one thing where the inspiration just doesn't stop, where the inspiration is just like always there, and you're just always inspired to write, to paint, to create music, to sing, to be, to bloom. Your soul in bloom. There is something to the creation of routines and systems and habits to pour that energy so that even the masculine rigidity is itself conducive to the going with the flow. It invokes the flow. It calls it forth. And then you have it. And you don't even have to go to the river. You don't even have to go eat watermelon naked. Because inside of your own heart, the little baby version of you is just always there munching the watermelon. And you can just go in there and be like, hey, what are we doing today? And then like a pure, enraptured child, just in the blissful primordial joy of life, the innate condition of purity and innocence, you can just go and communicate with that inner child within your heart and be like, hey, what are we doing? And he'll just look at you, or she'll just look at you like, this, we do this today. We do this. This is going to be the way that we flow. And then it just comes. The other day, I'm not going to get into this too deep, but I was in such a stream of purpose. I had been in this zone of cultivating this pathway as my purpose. And I woke up, I went to the bathroom, And quite frankly, I was on the toilet, and then the idea pops into my head, like, oh, I gotta write about this. I must write about this. Finish up, go and write, and like automatically 5 pages of this writing that I so deeply needed in my life, that uncovered so many things that I needed to know. And so, create the containers for the flow. Create the masculine structures. And when they have exhausted themselves, when they're too tiring, when they're too draining, when the inspiration isn't quite there, go to the river, go to the ocean, go to the waters of life. And trees are water. Trees are made of water. So if you go to the forest, that counts as going to the water. Now, ideally, you submerge your body in the waters of the earth and sky and God. And you do this, and you do nothing for as long as you need to, without forcing, and then you just wait for the inspiration to come. And you don't stay stuck. Listen, I've been rambling on. I'll be done with this video soon. If you are in a position in your life where you can financially afford to just go be in nature for a month of just prancing by the river, naked, eating watermelon, then do that for a month. Do only that. Forget everything I said about masculine containers and the wrongness of going with the flow. Go do that. But chances are, no, actually, if you're in such a position where you can do that, there's a hummingbird. There's a strong chance that you would hardly be able to go and do that. Which is where the masculine discipline would be like, I'm going to go spend 40 days and 40 nights fasting from all kinds of shit in nature. To where going with the flow becomes the discipline. Anyway, it is all divinely curated by God for exactly your needs. And when we do nothing in nature, God comes in to inspire us and communicate with us. Nevertheless, come here, little friend. It's the hummingbird. He was here this morning, perched on the branch. And I still couldn't write. There's a lot of work to do in this realm. There's a lot of wild shit that is unacceptable. There's a lot of inner children and outer children who are not in the state of blissful eating watermelon. They're being tortured. They are being attacked. They are being siphoned. They are being harmed in the most egregiously evil ways. And they are crying and they are demanding for mature masculine, feminine polarity and union to come hold them, save them, nourish them, love them, create structures that can hold them as opposed to just fucking siphon their essence and indoctrinate them to false paradigms that only make them slaves. So as much as it might be nice to create the little retreats where we can just prance around naked and eat fruit all day, if we're not creating these spaces for the children who inherit the earth and who are the future of humanity, and who, as we cultivate and create spaces, instead of just going to the river and selfishly enjoying being naked, eating watermelon by the river, creating structures where we can like rescue the children from the dying systems and be like, here, you guys do the running around naked. You guys who are like, have way less layers of programming, who have way less layers of bullshit and self-convinced scarcity patterns and mental stories of consent to slavery. Let's just all create spaces where the children can be children, and they can be the ones running around eating watermelon naked, safe, protected, luminous, naturally inspired, so that for them, the blockages, the idea of forcefulness won't be something that has been imposed upon them and they need to shed. They will be more naturally in the rhythm of this primordial condition of innocence. And this is the resurrection of innocence, which can begin within by going and doing nothing and following the pathways of inspiration and passion and even pain, feeling your pain, confronting your pain, alchemizing your pain into love, into purpose. But let us create pathways, create structures in the world where children can have these safe havens. This is really interesting that this is what's coming through, as I'm at this work trade. I'm living in this dome, and I'm doing some work on this property in exchange. And it seems that these people are fostering children. And so I feel like I'm probably connected to the land in some way and speaking to its mission. Speaking of its mission. So, beautiful. I've talked enough. I could just ramble, but I don't want to do that right now. I'll put on my hat. And yeah, just don't force things. Let your inner child have space to play, to eat watermelon naked. That's really it. There's nothing else that's needed when you're tired, when you're sick, when you're sick of the system. Just take a pause and go do that. And then create little structures for that inner child to feel fulfilled, for your heart to feel fulfilled. And renounce the spaces that, do all that. I won't get into it. I'll leave it at that. Blessings upon blessings to each of you. May all the children be free and loved and held and supported, and pursue divine pathways to liberation, to purpose, to passion, actualizing a collective macrocosmic liberation of humanity on earth, beginning with our inner children, beginning with our outer children. May all the children be free. The children are the solution. That's it. It's that simple. Yeah. Thank you.